The rain-slicked alley behind the dive bar reeked of stale beer and regret. But it was the metallic tang of blood that hit me first, like a punch to the gut, sharp and unforgiving. Landon staggered out from the shadows, his white shirt torn at the shoulder, crimson blooming across the fabric like some twisted abstract painting, his face pale as the moon that barely pierced the Seattle overcast. "Fuck," he gasped, collapsing to his knees right there in the puddle at my feet, his hazel eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that stripped me bare, hurt, horrible, and utterly, heartbreakingly human. I dropped my cigarette before I even realized it was burning my fingers, the ember hissing out in the rain like a dying confession. In that split second, as thunder rumbled low over Puget Sound, I knew two things. This stranger was bleeding from more than just a dog bite, and I was already in way too deep. Seattle in November hits like a bad breakup, gray skies that press down on your chest, rain that seeps into your bones, and a chill that whispers you're alone even in a crowd. I'd been nursing a whiskey at the Rusty Anchor, that hole-in-the-wall joint off Pike Street where the bartenders know you're poisoned by the slump of your shoulders. Alex Rivera, 28 and still figuring out how to adult without screwing it up. Bartender by trade, dreamer by accident, pouring drinks for hipsters and heartbreakers while sketching half-assed tattoos in the margins of napkins. Life was a loop, work, repeat. Until Landon stumbled into my orbit like a meteor crashing a quiet night. That alley moment? It replayed in my head like a glitchy film reel. I'd stepped out for a smoke, chasing the buzz of too many shots and the echo of some guy's laugh that sounded too much like my ex's. Then there he was, crumpling like wet paper, one hand clamped over his shoulder where the stray mutt had latched on earlier that evening. Or so he'd rasp out later. The dog, a mangy pit mix with eyes like shattered glass, had bolted after the bite, leaving Landon to wander the streets until he washed up at my back door. "Jesus. You're soaked through," I muttered, shrugging off my leather jacket and draping it over his shivering frame. He flinched at the touch, instinct, like a wild thing cornered, but didn't pull away. Up close, he was all sharp angles and soft contradictions, high cheekbones smudged with rain, lips cracked from the cold, and those eyes, hazel flecked with gold, holding storms I wanted to chase. He tried to wave me off, voice rough as gravel. "It's nothing. Just a scratch. Go back inside." "Bullshit." I knelt beside him, the puddles soaking my jeans, and peeled back the torn shirt. The bite was ugly, jagged teeth marks weeping blood, puncture deep enough to need stitches. But it was the way he bit his lip, stifling a whimper, that gutted me. Vulnerable didn't cover it, he was a raw nerve, exposed and electric. I half-carried, half-dragged him to my beat-up Honda Civic parked out front. The kind of car that rattles like it's got its own opinions. "Hospital," I said. Not a question. He protested the whole way, mumbled some things about insurance being a joke, about not wanting to be a burden, but I tuned it out, focusing on the heat blasting from the vents and the faint scent of him, pine soap undercut by coppery blood and something sweeter, like vanilla from a candle left burning too long. Swedish medical centers was a fluorescent hellscape. All beeps and bleach. But they patched him up quick. 9 stitches. A tetanus shot that had him cursing in Spanish. Wait. Spanish? I filed that away, and antibiotics he pocketed like contraband. By 2 a.m. we were back in my apartment above the bar. A cramped one-bedroom with exposed brick and posters of old punk bands peeling at the edges. I lived lean, thrift store couch, kitchenette that doubled as a sketch station, bed shoved in the corner like an afterthought. Sit, I ordered, pointing to the couch while I rummaged for the first aid kit under the sink. He obeyed, perching on the edge like he might bolt, jacket still clutched around him like armor. My jacket, too big on his lean frame, swallowed his hands. What's your name, Beth? Dabbing antiseptic on a gauze pad. He winced but held still. Landon. Hail. The pause. Then softer. Thanks. For this, Alex. And don't thank me yet. You're crashing here tonight. No arguments. I taped the fresh bandage over the bite, my fingers brushing the warm skin of his collarbone. He had tattoos, faint outlines of birds in flight across his ribs, inked in black like they'd been drawn in a hurry. Stories there? Could tell. He nodded, exhaustion carving lines under his eyes. Fine. But tomorrow, I vanish. Scout's honor. I left. Low and tired. Were you even a scout? You look like the type who'd set fires, not tie knots. His lips twitched, a ghost of a smile that lit something in my chest. Guilty. More into burning bridges. We talked then? Halting at first. Over lukewarm coffee I brewed in a pot that had seen better days. He was 25. A graphic designer freelancing out of a co-working space in Capitol Hill. Scraping by on gigs for indie bands and coffee shops. Grew up in Tacoma. That blue-collar shadow to Seattle's shine. With a mom who waitress doubles and a dad who bailed before Landon could walk. He was a ghost, Landon said, staring into his mug. Better that way. I shared scraps of me, Puerto Rican roots from my mom's side. Dad a mechanic who taught me to fix engines but not hearts. This. Jamie, bartender shorthand for the one who ghosted after 3 years. Left me with a lease and a therapy bill. We bonded over the ache of it. The way betrayal tastes like ash. By dawn, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and Landon was asleep on the couch, curled like a question mark under the Afghan my abuela knitted. I watched him for a beat too long, heart doing that stupid flip. He was hurting, yeah, from the bite, from whatever chased him into that alley, but there was a quiet fire in him, banked but burning. I crashed on the bed, mind racing with what? The city humming outside like a lullaby. Morning came sticky and slow. Landon woke with a groan, probing the bandage. Feels like a truck hit me. Coffee, I offered. Already pouring. He accepted. Sitting at the rickety table by the window overlooking the street where hipsters pedaled their bikes and baristas slung lattes like lifelines. We ate toast, burn on my end. Because who has time for perfection? And he sketched idly on a napkin. Birds morphing into abstract waves. Talented? Effortless. You do this for a living? Beth? Nodding at the drawing. Try to. Clients want safe shit. Logos for yoga studios. I want more. His eyes met mine. Vulnerable again. Like he was handing me a piece of himself. Then do more, I said. Simple as that. Start with this. I slid the napkin back. Birds breaking free. Tucking it into his pocket. Your trouble? Alex. Good trouble. I grinned. And damn if his laugh didn't sound like sunlight cracking clouds. He didn't vanish that day. Or the next. We fell into a rhythm. He'd work from my kitchen table, laptop glowing like a portal, while I prepped for the evening shift downstairs. I'd bring up leftovers, greasy burgers from the food truck on the corner, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. His love for old vinyl, he'd spin the Smiths like therapy. My failed attempt at art school, dropped out after a year. Too broke to breathe. The bite healed slow, a puckered scar forming like a badge. And every time he caught me staring, he'd smirk. What? Expecting a werewolf transformation. Just wondering if you're always this much of a magnet for strays. Kettle. He'd nod at me, and we'd laugh, the air thickening with something unspoken. One night, after closing, I found him on the fire escape, smoking a joint, city lights twinkling below like fallen stars. Seattle sprawled out, Space Needle piercing the fog, fairies cutting the sound like sighs. He passed it to me, our fingers brushing, and I held his gaze a beat too long. You ever feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? He asked, voice soft against the hum of traffic. All the time, I exhaled smoke, watching it curl. Like life's got this punchline, and you're just the setup. Turned, face inches from mine, rain-kissed lashes framing those hazel eyes. What if the punchline's good for once? I leaned in, heart hammering, and kissed him. Slow at first, testing his lips soft, tasting of weed and want. Then deeper, his hand fisting my shirt, pulling me closer. Fireworks in my veins, the kind that make you forget the gray. We tumbled inside, shedding clothes like old skin, bodies mapping each other in the dim lamplight. His skin was warm under my hands, scars and tattoos a braille I wanted to read forever. He was gentle, reverent, kissing the freckles on my shoulder, whispering my name like a prayer. When he came undone beneath me, it was with a gasp that shattered me. His vulnerability laid bare in the arch of his back, the tremble in his thighs. Tangled in sheets that smelled of us, he traced patterns on my chest. This okay? This more than okay. I kissed his temple, breathing him in. It's the best kind of trouble, but trouble has teeth. A week later, Jamie texted, "Miss you." Drinks? I deleted it, but Landon saw the glow on my phone, the hesitation in my thumb. His face shuddered, walls slamming up like storm doors. Who? He asked. Casual but not. No one. But. And he knew it. That night, he slept on the couch. The bite scar itched, he said. But it was the ghost between us that festered. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, turning the city into a watercolor of grays and blues. Holiday lights strung like desperate lifelines across the gloom. Landon and I danced around the fracture, kisses stolen in the stairwell. Hands lingering over coffee mugs, but the air hummed with unspoken accusations. I threw myself into work, slinging drinks till my arms ached, sketching feverishly in the lulls, Landon's profile, all sharp lines and shadowed eyes, birds bursting from chains. He noticed, of course. Obsessed much, he'd tease, but there was an edge, a flicker of that alley vulnerability peeking through. One evening, post-shift, I found him at the table, laptop closed, staring at a photo on his phone. An older guy, mid-30s, Smug grin. Arms slung around a younger Landon at some beach. Waves crashing behind like applause. Tacoma sand. He confirmed when I slid into the chair beside him. I kept it light. But my gut twisted. Tyler. He pocketed the phone. Jotted. 3 years. Thought it was forever. Decided he preferred variety. Straight passing curiosity, he called it. Fucked his way through half the guys at his gym before ghosting me with a post-it on the fridge. Sorry? Not sorry. The words hung heavy, laced with old poison. I reached for his hand, but he pulled back. Eyes stormy. You get it? That text from your ex, it's a reminder. We're all just placeholders till something shinier comes along. Not me. I stood, pacing the tiny kitchen. Jamie's ancient history. Water under the bridge. Or whatever bullshit Hallmark sells. Bitter. Bridges burn. Alex. And water? It drowns you if you're not careful. We made up in bed that night, fierce. Urgent. Like we could fuck the doubt away. His nails raked my back, leaving red trails that stung sweet. His moans a litany against my neck. Stay, he breathed as we collapsed. Sweat slick and spent. Just stay. I did. For the holidays, we strung lights in my apartment. Cheap ones from the dollar store that flickered like faulty stars. He baked cookies, lopsided gingerbread men with icing smiles, and we watched Die Hard on my ancient TV. His head on my lap, fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh. It felt real. Rooted. Like maybe we were building something sturdy. But roots tangle. January. Landon's freelance dried up, clients ghosting like bad dates, and the rent loomed like a guillotine. Move in, I blurted over takeout foe. Steam curling between us. Officially. Split the load. He froze. Chopsticks midway to his mouth. You sure? That's big. Scary big. A grin. Hard in my throat. But yeah. I want this. This. Tears welled in his eyes. Vulnerable Landon. The one who knelt in puddles and let me see his scars. Okay, he whispered. And kissed me like a vow. We merged lives slow. His vinyl stacked beside my sketches. His razor sharing shelf space with my cologne. Mornings became ritual. Him sketching at the table. Me brewing coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Evenings. We'd walk the waterfront. Hands linked under the shadow of the Ferris wheel. Fairy horns moaning like lovesick whales. He opened up more stories of his mom's endless shifts. How she'd slip him quarters for arcade games to keep him off the streets. She deserved better, he'd say. Voice cracking. I was her anchor. But anchors sink ships. You're not sinking anything, I'd counter. Pulling him close against the wind. You're flying. Remember? Those birds on your skin. One night, after a gallery opening in Pioneer Square, his designs projected on a wall. Abstract waves crashing in digital glory, we celebrated with cheap champagne on the fire escape. Bubbles fizzed on our tongues. The city a glittering beast below. To us, I toasted. Clinking plastic flutes. To not burning bridges. His smile was soft. Unguarded. We made love under the stars, or what passed for them in light-polluted Seattle, slow and worshipful. His body arching into mine like we were puzzle pieces slotting home. Afterward, he knelt between my legs, head on my thigh, fingers splayed over my heart. "I love you," he murmured. So quiet I almost missed it. My chest cracked open. "Love you too. Lan." More than the skyline. But skylines shift. February brought blizzards, rare for Seattle. But they hit hard, blanketing the streets in white silence. Trapped inside, we binge-watched The Office, built forts from blankets, and talked dreams. He wanted a studio. Real one. Walls lined with canvases. I confessed my tattoo parlor fantasy, ink and stories etched in skin. Then the call came. My phone buzzed at 3 a.m. Jamie's name flashing like a warning. I silenced it, but Landon stirred. Him again. Just drunk dialing. I rolled over, but the damage was done, his body tensed, walls rising. The next day, he vanished to a co-working gig, returning late with takeout and forced smiles. "We good, Beth?" Probing. "Yeah." "But..." "Memories." He shrugged, but his eyes screamed doubt. I pushed too hard. "Maybe." "Tyler's an asshole." "I'm not him. I know." But did he? The bite scar ached in the cold. A phantom pain mirroring the one in his chest. Weeks blurred. I picked up extra shifts. Money tight with his dry spell. One closing night. "Regular, you talk." With a laugh like thunder, flirted heavy. "You're too pretty for this dive, Alex. Let me buy you out sometime." I laughed it off. But Landon overheard from the doorway. Face ashen. "Friend of yours?" he asked later. Voice laced with ice. "Customer. Tips well. Defensive." "Mistake." He nodded. But the seed sprouted thorns. Texts from Jamie escalated. "One drink? For old times." I blocked him. Showed Landon the thread. "See? Done. But trust is fragile glass." Late March. Spring teasing with crocuses pushing through slush. Landon landed a big gig, album art for a rising indie band. Celebration at the Rusty Anchor, shots flowing. His friends, a motley crew of artists with dyed hair and ironic tees, toasting his breakthrough. I manned the bar. Pride swelling as he lit up. Hazel eyes sparkling under the neon. But midway, my phone pinged, a work email. Or so I thought. Landon glanced over. Smile faltering. Later, in the alley for a smoke break. He cornered me. "Who was that?" "Band manager." "Gig stuff." "Lie." "Truth," but he'd seen the sender, Jamie's old email alias. Repurposed for spam or spite. His face crumpled. "You're still talking to him?" "No." "Bullshit." He stormed inside. The door slamming like a gunshot. We fought in whispers after closing. Bar empty but echoing. "You're paranoid," I accused. Hurt flaring hot. Paranoid? Or pattern recognition? He yanked up his sleeve, exposing the scar. "This healed." "That? It festers." I grabbed his arm, handle, meant to ground, but he jerked back. Eyes wild. "Don't touch me like I'm yours to fix." The words landed like blows. He grabbed his jacket, bolted into the night. I chased. But Seattle swallowed him, rain erasing footprints. Streets indifferent. Days stretched to a week. Texts unanswered. Calls to voicemail. I haunted his co-working spot. But he'd sublet a room in Fremont. Crashing with a friend. Space, the mutual texted back. He's processing. Processing what? Betrayal? But it was a ghost's knife. Not mine. Guilt nod. Had I fed the doubt? Ignored the cracks? Then the bite's anniversary. A stray mutt cornered him in an alley, echo of our meet cute. But twisted. He texted at midnight, at ER. Fin. Come? I flew across town. Heart in my throat. Swedish. Same sterile glow. The bite was superficial, stitches, antibiotics redux, but he looked wrecked. Curled on the exam table, knees drawn up. Alex. My name a broken exhale as I burst in. We didn't speak much. I drove him to my place, his stuff still half unpacked. A testament to what we'd almost had. He knelt by the couch. Head in hands. Shoulders shaking. I'm sorry. I can't keep waiting for the drop. I sank beside him, pulling him close. Then don't wait. Bleep. He looked up. Vulnerable as that rainy night, eyes wet. Lips trembling. With you. Always. I kissed him. Salt and sorrow on his tongue. We rebuilt slow. Therapy sessions he dragged me to. Mine for the Jamie fallout. His for Tyler's shadow. Spring bloomed, cherry blossoms dusting the U District like confetti. Walks turned to dates, picnics in Discovery Park. Hands linked over sandwiches. Dogs romping in the distance, leashed. Now. But peace is prelude. April showers brought May monsoons of memory. Landon's mom called, cancer. Stage 3. We packed the Civic, ferrying south under steel skies. Her trailer was a time capsule, faded curtains, fridge magnets of lighthouses. She was frail, Kimravich, but her hug fierce. Heard about you, she winked at me. Treat my boy right. Landon paced, fear carving him hollow. What if I lose her? What if I'm not enough? You're everything. I held him through sobs. His vulnerability a tide pulling us under. She rallied, fought like hell, and we shuttled weekends. My shifts covered by pitying coworkers. Bonds deepened, her stories of young Landon. Building forts from cardboard, his quiet strength. Holding her hand through needles. Back in Seattle. The band gig ballooned, tour posters. Merch. Success glittered, but so did doubt. A launch party at Neumos, pulsing bass. Bodies slick with sweat. Landon shone. Schmoozing labels. But I caught whispers, a producer's hand lingering on his waist. Eyes hungry. Jealousy? Fear. Later. In the green room. He confessed, Tyler's in town. Saw him tonight. Congrats. But you're slumming it with the bartender. Rage boiled. Fuck him. You're a king. But the seed, again. He pulled away post-party. Crashing at the Fremont sublet. Need to think. Think? Or flee. Days bled. Then. The hammer, a mutual called. Jamie's back. Stirring shit. Told Landon you're rebounding. But venomous. I confronted Jamie at a coffee shop, fists clenched. Words sharper. Stay gone. He smirked. He'll see. We're inevitable. Blocked. Deleted. Burned. but damage done. Landon showed at my door. Face thunderous. Is it true? Am I just filler? No. Desperate? I grabbed his sketchbook, our napkin bird, now a full mural of wings unfurling. This. Real. Just out. Tears spilling. Prove it. Summer scorched Seattle rare and relentless, turning the sound to a mirror of molten glass. But inside my apartment, the air was ice. Landon's challenge hung between us like a dare. His hazel eyes daring me to bridge the chasm Tyler and Jamie had dynamited. Prove it, he'd said, voice cracking on the edge of hope and hurt. The bite scar a pale crescent on his shoulder mocking our fragile peace. I didn't have words. Words were cheap. Bridges built on them burned easy. So I acted. Quit the bar cold, 2 weeks' notice. A Hail Mary to my boss who blinked like I'd grown horns. You sure? Rivera? For a guy. For me. I'd been sketching full-time anyway. Tattoos and murals bubbling in my veins. With savings scraped from tips and a side hustle inking friends, I rented a hole-in-the-wall studio in Ballard, brick walls. Buzzing neon sign reading ink and anchor. Grand opening? A flyer blast to Landon's art circle. His birds inked into my logo, wings breaking chains around a weathered anchor. He walked in on day 3. Face smeared with paint from a mural gig. What the hell is this? Our future. I wiped ink from my hands. Heart pounding. Clients milled. His friends. My regulars, getting free sessions. Birds on wrists. Anchors on collarbones. No more pouring drinks for ghosts. I'm all in. His lip quivered. That vulnerable Neil flashing in my mind. The alley. The couch confessions. He crossed the room, ignoring stares, and kissed me fierce, right there amid the whir of needles. You're insane. You're kinda insane. To left. Tears mixing, and Seattle felt like home. Momentum built. His album art went viral, indie stations spinning the tracks, fans tagging Landon Wings on socials. My parlor buzzed, walk-ins turning to appointments. A waiting list snaking out the door. We merged studios, his drafting table beside my ink station, vinyl spinning low in the corner. Mornings, coffee and sketches, his head on my shoulder as we brainstormed. Afternoons, clients sharing stories, us etching them into skin like vows. But success is a spotlight, and spotlights cast shadows. Tyler resurfaced, email first, then calls. Proud of you. Lan. Drinks? Catch up. Landon deleted. Fuck. But the poison seeped. He's engaged now, he told me one night. Scrolling news on his phone. To her. The one he left me for. Good riddance. I pulled him close. But his body was rigid. Walls cracking under pressure. Mom's chemo held, remission whispers in Tacoma visits, but stress frayed us. Late nights. Doubt gnawing. What if this is just the high? What if we crash? Then we crash together. I trace his scar. Kissing the hurt. No placeholders. Partners. He'd melt then. Love making a reclamation. Slow grinds on the studio floor. His moans echoing off brick. My name a mantra on his lips. Alex. Good. Alex. August heat wave peaked. City wilting under 90 degrees. We escaped to the islands, San Juan's. Fairy slicing the sound like a promise. Rented a cabin on Orcas, weathered wood. Porch swing creaking to loons' calls. Days, kayaking emerald bays. Spotting Orcas breaching like myths. Nights, fireflies dancing. Us tangled on quilts. Stars wheeling overhead. Under a meteor shower. He knelt, not in pain, but purpose. Pulled a ring from his pocket, simple silver band, etched with wings. Marry me? Not today. But someday. When we're ready. Tears stung. Yes. Hell yes. We made love on the beach. Waves lapping like applause. His vulnerability a gift I cradled. Back in Seattle. Glow lingered. Wedding talks, small. Beachside. Mom's frail hand in his. But autumn crept. Leaves turning trader gold. And with it, the blade. The betrayal hit sideways. My parlor's big break, a collab with Landon's label. Inking tour merch designs. Excitement buzzed, joint promo. Our worlds fusing. But Jamie? He'd wormed in, now a consultant for the label. Schmoozing execs with that snake oil charm. I spotted them first, post-meeting coffee at a Capitol Hill cafe. Landon laughing at something Jamie said. Hand on his arm, innocent. Friendly. But the photo? The fan snapped it. Posted online. Landon Hale cozying with mystery hottie? X-flame alert? Tags exploded. Landon cheating ink heartbreak. My phone blew up. Clients canceling. Friends texting WTF? Heart in freefall. I confronted him at the studio. He burst in. Face ashen. Alex. It's nothing. Nothing? Your hand on his arm? Laughing like old times? Rage boiled? Old Jamie wounds ripping open. Am I the fool this time? No, he reached. But I flinched. Save it. I stormed out. Seattle blurring in rain-lashed fury. Crashed at a buddy's. Drowning in whiskey and was. Patterns? His word echoed. Was I? He texted, please. Voicemails, voice breaking. I love you. It's a setup. But pride armored me. Days to a week. Mom called. Come home. Baby. Guilt cracked me. Drove to Tacoma. Found him at her bedside. Holding her hand. Eyes hollow. Alex. Relief. Then wariness. We talked in the hall. Fluorescent hum underscoring the ache. Jamie's playing games, he said. Showing emails, screenshots of Jamie pitching lies to the label, Landon's unstable. Ex-drama. The photo? Arm grab faked in edit. Why not tell me? I demanded. Voice raw. You shut down. Like I did. Mirror held up. Ugly truth. We're both scarred. Alex. Bite deep. Mom rallied again, fierce. Boys, she wheezed from bed. Love ain't a solo flight. Wings need wind. We drove back north. Silence thawing to tentative touches. But the label pulled the collab, optics, they said. Clients dipped. Buzz fading. Parlor limped. His gigs dried. Winter loomed. Gray as doubt. Then, the storm, Jamie cornered me at an industry mixer, label party. Forced smiles. He'll leave you, he slurred. Breath whiskey sour. Always does. Weak. Fist connected before thought, crack of knuckles on jaw. Blood on my shirt. Security hauled me out. Landon trailing. Horrified. What the fuck? Alex. He threatened, but words failed. Violence. My dad's echo, mechanic hands that bruised more than fixed. Landon's face shuddered. You're him now. The one who hurts. He walked away. Into the night. I spiraled. Parlor shuttered for personal reasons. Sketches gathering dust. Friends staged intervention. Get help. Therapy. Unpacking Jamie. The rage I wielded like a club. Landon? Radio silence. Mom's updates. He's painting. Hurting. Christmas came, snow dusting the sound like ash. I sent a gift, silver anchor etched with his bird. No reply. New Year's. Resolve hardened. Drove to his Fremont sublet. Rain sheeting like tears. He answered. Disheveled, paint-splattered tea. Eyes red-rimmed. Go. No. Knelt in the doorway. Puddle forming at my feet, echo of us. I'm hurting too. Vulnerable. But I choose us. Therapy. Change, I'll prove it. Again. Just out. Thunder cracking outside. Then, slow. He extended a hand. Kneel inside this time. I did. We cried. Talked till dawn, betrayals unpacked. Scars aired. We're messy, he whispered. Fingers in my hair. But human. Love reignited. Tentative flame. Mom's remission held, we planned her visit. Studio collab revived, smaller? Us. Birds and anchors intertwined. Spring 2026 unfurled gentle. Seattle shaking off winter like a dog after a bath, blossoms rioting in pink and white. The air thick with salt and possibility. Landon and I emerged scarred but stitched. Our bond a tapestry of men's, visible seams where tears had rent. Stronger for the repair. Therapy became Bible, weekly sessions in a Belltown office. Spilling guts over chamomile tea. Trauma's a thief, our counselor said. All soft southern drawl transplanted north. But you too? You're reclaiming the vault. We did. Mornings. Yoga on the fire escape. His body flowing beside mine. Breaths sinking like heartbeats. Afternoons. Studio grind. My needle humming his designs into skin. Clients bearing witness to our fusion. Stories of their own loves etched eternal. Evenings. Waterfront strolls. Hanslocked. Feeding gulls stale bread. Laughing at their greedy squawks. Mom's visit sealed it. Her chemo crown a faint halo of regrowth. She flew up, first class. My treat. We hosted barbecue on the studio roof, ribs smoked low. Vinyl crooning Motown. Her stories spinning like smoke. You boys glow, she said. Clinking bottles with Landon. Like fireflies in jars. Squeezing my knee under the table. We almost dimmed. Nah. She waved it off. Eyes sharp. Loves the jar. Keeps the light in. She stayed a week, couch surfing our couch. Critiquing my tattoos, too pretty for sailors, and cooing over his sketches, my boy's a poet with lines. Departure hit hard, hugs at the gate. Her frail frame belying steel will. Visit Tacoma soon. Beach wedding. Yeah, Landon nodded. Tears brimming. In the car. He broke, She's my world. Alex. Losing her. Won't happen. I pulled over, cradling him against the dash. Not on our watch. Summer hummed electric. Label collab bloomed anew, tour posters inked with our sigils. Fans clamoring for merch drops. Parlor thrived, guest artists. A podcast on Ink-S therapy. We traveled, quick hop to Portland for a con. Hands under tables at panels. Stealing kisses in green rooms. Orcus cabin redux. No ring this time. Just promises whispered on the porch. Stars winking approval. But humanity's not linear, shadows linger. July heat peaked. And with it, Jamie's echo. A tabloid blip, ex-producer sues over assault, ink artist in hot water. Slap suit? Mostly bluff. But headlines stung. Landon tensed at breakfast. Paper crumpled in his fist. This'll tank us. Let it. I kissed his temple. Said he. We've got receipts. His lies. The setup. Lawyers danced. Settlement slim. Apology letter. No admission. But the scar? Deeper than bites. Landon withdrew, nights sketching alone. Vulnerability cloaked in silence. What if they see us as drama? He'd murmur. Eyes distant. Then they miss the art. I'd pull him to bed. Body's a bomb. Slow. Sensual. His gasps pulling me anchor deep. We're the story worth telling. August brought breakthrough. His solo exhibit, Wings and Wounds. Gallery in Soto pulsing with abstracts, storms in hazel. Birds bloodied but soaring. Opening night, crowd thick. Critics murmuring. In a button-down he ironed. Hand on his low back as flashes popped. A reviewer cornered us. Inspiration? Landon glanced at me. So. The kind that bites. But heals. Reviews glowed, raw. Right? Resonant. Sales followed. Pieces to collectors. A commission from MoMA Scout. My parlor? Featured in Ink Mag, From Bar to Canvas, Alex Rivera's redemption arc. Wealth trickled, costs. Tacoma Fund for Mom's Treatments. Cabin down payment. September equinox. We drove south, beach vow renewal. Impromptu. Waves crashed. Her hand in ours. Salt spray anointing. No rings exchanged, just words. Fierce and felt. Through hurts and vulnerabilities, he vowed. Sand gritting our toes. Melting hearts and mended scars, I echoed. Kissing him as gulls wheeled. Fall painted gold. City sighing into coziness. Mom scans clean, remission solid. We hosted Friendsgiving, mismatched chairs. Turkey charred but turkey nonetheless. Toasts slurring to us against the gray. Winter whispered early snows. But we were warm. Christmas, tree strung with lights from our first fight makeup. Ornaments handed, birds. Drinkers. A tiny pit bull for the bite that bound us. New Year's on the roof, champagne fizzing. His head on my shoulder. Fireworks blooming over the needle like hopes ignited. One night. Post-shift, parlor closing early for once, he knelt again. Not in pain. Not doubt. But devotion. Pulled two bands from velvet, silver. Intertwined wings and anchor. Some days today. Marry me, Alex. For real. Heart melted, echo of that title. Our origin etched eternal. Just 1,000 times. Wedding, June. Orca speech. Mom officiating, ordained online. Voice steady. 50 guests, artists, thinkers. Strays we'd gathered. Vows raw. You saw me kneeling, hurting, and stayed. Your vulnerability? It's my strength. Ring slid home. Kiss ceiling under sunset gold. Reception, bonfire crackling. Vinyl spinning. Dances barefoot in surf. Honeymoon? Cabin extension, kayaks by day. Stars by night. Years blur forward, but roots hold. Studio expands, joint space. Wings and anchor. Mentoring kids with sketches and scars. One thrives. Grandkids promised, adopted. Eventually, little ones with hazel eyes and laugh lines. Strays? We foster. It's mostly bites forgiven. And at 30, still sharp angles? But softer now, crow's feet from smiles. Tattoos faded but fervent. Me, inkier, grayer at temples, but anchored. One evening. Fire escape perch. City humming below. He leans in, breath warm. Still melting your heart? Every damn day. Slow and sure. Life's no fairy tale, bites come. Knees buckle. But in the hurting, the vulnerable kneel. We find grace. Human. Message. Us. And in that, the deepest romance, not perfection, but persistence. American as rain on brick. Enduring the storm.